too. So it's the last class, so I'm going to attempt to pull everything together into a daily practice, some kind of regimen that we can have throughout the day to make our life meaningful. We have to do meaningful actions. We have to bring meaning to our life. So today's kind of topic is about how to pull all of the practices together, even just as a beginner, so that we go off in the right direction, and then slowly we can bring more and more things in. So it's based on Lama Zopa Rinpoche's prescription for modern day life. And he's made a tailor-made motivation morning practice for all of us, regardless of whether we have masses of commitments or are just beginning. He wanted everybody to do this daily practice. And within it is the speech blessing, which is something you just don't want to leave home without. Having done the speech blessing, it's essential if you've got a family and you talk to your family, if you have a job, if you have a life, if you use your speech, then it's really, really important. So let's start with adjusting our motivation. I mean, that's the great thing, that whatever motivation it is that gets us here, that's good. And then once we're here, then we can adjust it. We don't have to second guess ourselves or kind of worry about, oh, is there some deep unconscious, subconscious sabotaging motivation or anything like that. We just simply adjust our motivation. And a very nice but informal but nice way to adjust our motivation is to think that we're here in the spirit of curiosity and kindness. So the kindness part, the compassion wing, compassion for ourselves in this morass of psychic existence, and then compassion for everybody else who's in the same boat. And instead of being despondent, actually thinking there is something that we can do, and we can't wait around for someone else to do it. We have to do it. Whatever we do, we have to have this aim to help others in this long-term, really genuine way. And the curiosity, the wisdom wing, is, well, you know, we don't know everything yet, but we can eventually, and we can actually enlighten our minds and develop our wisdom until we have perfected it. Then we can effortlessly, spontaneously help others in the best possible way. So may we be able to develop our wisdom also to get our understanding and our interaction with the world in line with reality. So this prescription for our daily life, for our daily practice. And in the great tradition of the FPMT, it has a wonderful long name, because Lama Zopa Rinpoche loves actually calling things what they are. So it's the method for transforming a suffering life into happiness, including enlightenment. And that's exactly what it is. So it's included in the day's notes, and it really is a prescription for all the pains of samsara. And what it has in it is a glance meditation on the Lam Rim, so the path to enlightenment. There are quite a few glance meditations you might know of, like the foundation of all good qualities or the three principal aspects of the path. So this one's actually just got the name glance meditation, and it's set out really nicely. And then there's some extra verses that Rinpoche's put in there to make our very existence, just us existing in the world, to make it beneficial. And one of the verses in particular from Shantideva about may I become a bridge, you know, which is the one that I've really taken to heart. May I become a bridge between, you know, all sentient beings and the Dharma. And really for us Dharma practitioners, that's our job, isn't it? To be able to help others with the Dharma, whether we use Buddhist or religious language or not, and to be a bridge, the connector between others and the Buddha's wisdom. And you know, of course, when we think about others, that we're here to dispel their suffering. They're not here to dispel our suffering. So it's adjusting our motivation, you know, turning it around the right way. So I just wanted to share the very first verse of this Glance Lam Rim meditation. Please, Gurus, bless my mind to become Dharma, Dharma to become the path, and the path to be without obstacles. So, you know, this is an incredibly profound verse. I had no idea how profound it was until doing one of the retreats with Lama Zopa Rinpoche in Bendigo, and he spent days on that one verse, because in it, you know, bless my mind to become the Dharma is like the entryway to the Buddhist path, the Buddhist teachings, and releasing those 8 worldly concerns that so dominate us and corrupt our life and corrupt all of our good intentions. That Dharma become the path refers to the Mahayana path. May we actually enter the Mahayana path. All of our efforts, our day-to-day efforts, become for the benefit of every single sentient being without missing out anybody. So really powerful. And the path to be without obstacles refers to the tantric perspective. So without the obstacles of seeing things as ordinary, or without the obstacles of really underestimating what we can do as human beings in this very life. So, you know, just the very first few lines, you can spend days and days and days. So there are amazing commentaries from Rinpoche on this, and I highly encourage you to just dive into it, because it is incredibly inspiring. The second half of the booklet is the speech blessing. So the very minimum that I try and do is that speech blessing. And especially I never lead a class without doing a speech blessing first, because, you know, I think in my mind, at least if I get things garbled or if I have a typo or something, it'll minimize the harm done. And often, you know, I'm striding into these classes and I just think, oh gosh, I hope I've got everything right, and I've done everything possible to share with you the correct information in my own experience, but, you know, it's not going to be perfect. So what can I do to minimize the harm? So the very minimum is the speech blessing. It's also really powerful if you have important things coming up, like court cases or meetings with teachers at school or committee meetings, family get-togethers, if you have to give a speech, if you if talking to others is part of your job. All of this is a way to bless our speech, means that our speech becomes powerful and clear and beneficial for others. So it's quite a purification practice as well, an all-round purification practice. So what I wanted to do was slowly introduce you to give you the backstory from a Western point of view of what this speech blessing is all about. So I'm not sure if any of you already do the speech blessing or not, so forgive me if I'm kind of mansplaining or anything like that, but I just wanted to backtrack and put it into our kind of Western context. And part of the speech blessing, of course, uses the alphabet. So here's our Western alphabet garland. So we hear about mantra garlands when we do the various visualization practices, Tara's mantra garland or Chenrezig's mantra garland. Well, here's our worldly Western alphabet garland. And, you know, instead of a hum or a tum in the middle, we've got a little baby, a human in the baby of the mantra garland, in the middle of the mantra garland. And the top one, the alphabet wheel, probably what kids learn at school, but it's quite similar, as you'll see when we go through the Tibetan speech blessing. You know, it's whatever it is. So as we go through with our Western alphabet, 26 letters, it's finite, but what it can produce is infinite. So we have the whole, you know, knowledge of the ages and the entire teachings of the Buddha, all the Dharma there as the textual Dharma coming from just these few letters. So in a way, what we can think of the alphabet, it's the DNA. It's the DNA of language. And just like, you know, Gattaca is the basis for all living beings, all life. It's the same with the alphabet. It's the basis for all of our wisdom. And just like in the daily world, you know, first there's the sound, and then we kind of capture it with the form of the letters. So here's an example of, say, the Medicine Buddha mantra. So it's the Medicine Buddha mantra garland, the way that it's arranged, circular. And so first there's the sound of the mantra, and then it becomes manifest. And these letters, they're made of light and they're all shimmery. In the Nyungne text, you might remember it says like the sound takes form like mercury adhering to grains of gold. So it's got this shimmery movement, sparkly kind of effect. So this is how we can kind of imagine it. You know, the mantras, they're alive. They're dancing, they're singing. There's a sound coming from each one. They're like the very subtle beings. So don't think that the letters are just something that's made up. Actually, the letters are alive, and they are the subtle form, the physical form of a Buddha, the Sambhogakaya aspect. So they're bodies of light, and they're that delineation, they're in between mind and body. So the most subtle body, the most subtle form, an expression of mind in its most probably pared back and, you know, just like like mathematics, you know, it's the ultimate description of the world. So that's like this, the Sambhogakaya form. And so imagine them like dancers, you know, or like flickering flames. And what we actually see is like a snapshot, like someone's taken a photo of those dancers. And so the syllables appear still to us, but in reality, they're alive. And Rinpoche says you think of them as like three-dimensional, standing upright, made of light, like neon, but not hard, really radiant and soft, because it's not glass like neon, but the light. And so at the top here, I've got Matisse's dances, which, you know, if you just squint your eyes, it could almost look like the Vajrayogini mantra. Then below here, the Om Mani Padme Hum on the lotus. So you can see how the mantra garland is arranged and how it's standing upright. And you can also imagine that each of these syllables is emitting its own sound. So actually, when you recite, each syllable emits its own sound one by one, and then you get the entirety of the mantra. And in later stage practices, when you're reciting the mantra, there is a way where you do mental recitation. This kind of makes sense. And then here we have in the middle the hum syllable, radiant in space. And so you can tell it is because how you've, no, actually this is a hri, I think. You know, it's like a very complicated 5. So I don't really know anything about Tibetan, but each letter has a head and a tail. So just like these dancers are going around in a circle, and just like this mantra garland of Om Mani Padme Hum is going around in a circle, you know, you read it, just like each of our letters when we write them down, they have a front and a head and a tail. And they're arranged in a line. think of it, like that picture of elephants, how the elephant holds the tail of the one in front with its trunk, and you see the whole line of elephants in a row, but you're seeing all the elephants from the side. So what I found quite amazing was when you first start imagining the lotus at your heart chakra lotus made of light, and whatever seed syllable there at your heart, or in the speech blessing, we have a moon on our tongue and a seed syllable in our tongue. When the syllable is written, it's written down so that we know what it is. But actually, we're looking at it from the side. We can see the head and the tail of that letter. When we're imagining it on our tongue or at our heart, it's actually like this. The head's at the front, the tail's at the back. But of course, if we just, in our text, just had a line like this, no one would know what the syllable looks like. So in the text, it's written like this, sideways. But when we're imagining it at our heart. So if you're looking from the front, it's like this beam of light. If we look from the side, we'd know what it looks like. So I hope that makes sense. When I first heard about this, it was quite revolutionary, because it was when Chöden Rinpoche came to visit, and he was giving a Green Tara commentary on the 21 Taras, and that in itself was just mind-blowing. And when he was talking about the seed syllable, and he said that they faced like this, there was this collective gasp from all of the nuns in the front row going, "What? I've never heard of that." And they were like to each other, we got to check that. It doesn't say that in the text. And it's like, of course it doesn't say that in the text. This actually is the living experience from a great meditation master, and he's actually describing exactly what it's like the actual syllables there at his heart or on his tongue, how it goes. So this is just the incredible benefit that we have when we have teachings from great practitioners, that there's a whole lot of experience that we get that isn't written down in the meditation manual that we can bring to this. And so that's one of the things, the head and the tail of the letters. So before we get started on actually having a go at the speech blessing, are there any questions or comments yet? Alexis, is there your question for today anything to do with this topic?
No.
No.
Can I ask it, or shall I wait till the end? I can wait till the end.
Let's just do the speech blessing, and then I've got a whole lot of extras to add in about just daily life. So okay. It'll surely have to do with that. Okay. Is there anyone here who already does the speech blessing? No, yeah, Mary does, Alexis does, Barbara does as well. Okie dokie, great. Fran, you're just about to, that's okay. Hopefully I get you enthused to do it. It's a massive amount of fun. So instead of kind of learning the alphabet like we did at school, and of course we can all sing it. I could sing the Sesame Street version, how wonderful. I can sing the Australian version, how wonderful. It's so important, isn't it? Because it gives us the tools for life, having that alphabet. So the same with blessing our speech. And the speech blessing is called the Ali Kali. So let's do the Ali Kali. Instead of doing the hokey pokey, we can do the Ali Kali. So don't leave home without it. Don't even attempt to talk to others without it, because most of our speech is at best just kind of, gossip or meaningless speech. Often it ends up being aggressive, or we get taken, we get misunderstood, we compound all of our mistakes, we have harsh speech when we don't need to, all of those things. Very rarely does our speech become beneficial for others or kind, let alone becoming, speech of the Dharma. So this is really a way of transforming our entire communication. So before a court case, a family meeting, going on a trip, before going out to dinner, then you can make going to dinner part of your path to enlightenment. People will understand you and pay attention. So if you have this sensation, like I often do, if you're just talking into the void and you say things and people go, oh yeah, whatever, and they don't pay any attention to what you've said at all, and then later on they're, oh, what's happened? And you, but I said that. So why isn't it that people don't hear when I say it? And it's because my speech doesn't have power. So this is a way of bringing power to your speech, benefit and power. So what else? Meritorious speech, it becomes powerful. And our speech, instead of the song of samsara, we can sing the song of the mantra of dependent origination, the mantra of wisdom. So most of the time we're just singing the song of samsara. And it's a pretty dirge-like song half the time too, isn't it? So this is a way of really changing that. The mantra of dependent origination, which is one of the mantras. The translation, whatever phenomena arise from a cause, those causes have been taught by the Tathagata, and their cessation too has been proclaimed by the great practitioner of virtue. So that really is a blessing of the speech. So the speech blessing has the DNA in there of language, of the Tibetan language, and or maybe even the Sanskrit language, come to think of it. And so really simply, we just take refuge first. And in the booklet, it's just a 2-line refuge. I go for refuge to the 3 rare sublime ones. May I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. I mean, that's it. That's just so simple. Then you dissolve your feeling of an inherently existent I into emptiness. Because even though we grasp at an I, it's empty in reality. And then your wisdom realizing emptiness experiences bliss, great bliss. So your mind becomes a mind enjoying the wisdom realizing emptiness. And then from that, if you've had a tantric initiation, then you instantaneously or spontaneously arise very clearly into the form of the deity. If you haven't had a tantric initiation, it's okay. You can still do the speech blessing. So what you do is you think that you're blessing your body of virtue. So the coarse body here, but also then our accumulating body of virtue. So your light body, all of your subtle body, your subtle energies, that's what you're blessing. They you know, quite tangibly exist within our system, our nervous system. So either way, a body of virtue or arises the deity. And so it's actually happening, but on that subtle level. So the first thing that happens is that on your tongue arises a syllable ah, made of light. So this is a short ah. It's not an ah, but it's a short ah. So it's quite a simple, whatever it is, syllable diagram made of light. And it transforms into a moon disc on your tongue. So the moon disc, my little graphics can't do it justice, but the moon disc, imagine it like an amazing sliver of light, so delicate. Or Lama Zopa Rinpoche sometimes says like a beautiful magnifying glass of the moon. So really radiant. And on this moon disc on your tongue, a syllable om in the middle. So remember, it's written like this, but it's actually facing forward. And then 3 mantra garlands. So I don't have the graphics to make them stand up 3-dimensionally, but they're here. So first, the white mantra garland, which are the vowels, the red mantra garland, which are the consonants, and then the blue mantra garland, which is the mantra of dependent arising. So you have these 3 mantra garlands. They're very delicate, beautiful on your tongue, on the moon disc on your tongue. So if you just close your eyes for a moment, feel that sliver of light of the moon disc, and that is actually a manifestation of your bodhicitta. So beautiful, so delicate, fine. And then the mantra garlands there. So each of these letters alive, made of light, incredibly radiant, arranged beautifully on your tongue with fine detail. And then light emanates out from those, from the Om and the moon disc and the mantra garland to all the directions, and it hooks back the enlightened speech from all the Buddhas, all the Bodhisattvas. So the power of speech beyond samsara, and it hooks it back in the form of light that absorbs into those mantra garlands, so they become even more radiant, even brighter. So, and at the same time, it hooks back all the power of speech from beyond samsara in the form of the 8 auspicious symbols and the 7 precious things and all of these incredible insignia of powerful practice, spirituality, auspiciousness. So what you can imagine, this is where all those sci-fi movies come in handy. You know, like in Star Wars, where they have all of the spaceships just hovering there in outer space, a flotilla of spaceships, and there's just thousands of them. So instead of that, you just think there's thousands of auspicious symbols, golden and radiant, made of light, just hovering there around you in space. And then they melt into light, and that light is drawn into those syllables on your tongue. So they become supercharged with auspiciousness. So Rinpoche says, like rain falling into the ocean. So now we've got all of the mantra garland supercharged. Then we say the mantras. So the first one, the white mantra garland. As we recite, then white light and nectar flows through your whole body. So your body becomes incredibly radiant with white light and nectar, and it purifies all of the negativities accumulated with our body physically throughout this life and all previous lives, as this light flows through us. So we can do it together quite slowly. There's a nice way of doing it. Om, a, I, u, ri, ri, li, li, a, o, a, swaha. Om, a, I, u, ri, ri, li, li, a, o, a, swaha. Om, a, I, u, ri, ri, li, li, a, o, a, swaha. So feel all of the negativities, all the negative karma created with the physical actions with our body completely purified, and your body radiant and white. Then the middle one, the red mantra garland. So this one has slightly different transliterations. So don't get too upset about that. You just do the best that you can. Om kaka gaga na, cha cha ja ja na, ta ta da da na, cha cha ja ja na, pa pa ba ba ma, yara lava, shaka saha ka swaha. So this one, there's one line where it looks like it's repeated, but one said ta-ta-da and the other's with your tongue curled like an R, cha-cha-cha. So in the Tibetan, they have these finesse of the language. So we do the best that we can. Om ka-ka ga-ga na, ta-ta-da-da na, ta-ta-da-da na, cha-cha-cha-cha na, pa-pa-ba-ba ma, yara lava, shaka saha ka swaha. Om kaka gaga na, cha 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 na, ta 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 na, cha 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 na, pa 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 ma, yara lava, shaka saha sa swaha. So it's quite nice how they say it coming up, and it really lifts our mind when we're coming up. So as we're reciting that, all the red light flows through your whole body becomes radiant with this red light, and all the impurities and negativities of speech are completely purified. And then finally, the blue mantra, the mantra of dependent arising. So that's around the edge of that moon disc on your tongue. And this one, it's really important to say it in the right way because it's punctuation. And if you put the pause in the wrong place, instead of it being a dependent arising blessing, it says something hideous like, you know, kill your grandmother or something. I don't know, but you just got to make sure that you put the punctuation in the right place. So instead of like, let's eat grandma, it's let's eat grandma. You know, it makes a really, really big difference. So this is how. Om ye dhamma hetu prabhava, hetan tekan tatagato, haya vada tekan sayo, nirodha, evam vadi maha shramanaye swaha. So the main pause we've got to make sure is where it says tekan sayo, that's where you pause, and then nirodha. Om ye dhamma hetu prabhava, hetan tekan tatagato, haya vada tekan sayo, nirodha, evam vadi maha shramanaye swaha. Om ye dhamma hetu prabhava, hetan tekan tatagato, haya vada tekan sayo, nirodha, evam vadi maha shramanaye swaha. So that incredible blue light, like bottle blue, flows through your whole body and purifies all the negativities accumulated, all the negative karma accumulated with the mind, this life and all previous lives. So this is an incredible blessing in itself. It's a purification in itself. And so then we have the absorption of these mantra garlands. And so in the little commentary that I posted, I just copied out some things from the Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive. So Rinpoche shares his, you know, direct experience of how to do this, and it's quite different from how it's written in the manual. So in the manual, often they'll say, oh, this melts into light and absorbs into the next thing, melts into light, absorbs into the next. But what Rinpoche says is light emanates from that Om in the middle of your tongue there, and it draws in the mantra garland, the blue one that melts into light, and it draws that light into the Om. And then the light draws in the red mantra garland that dissolves into light and absorbs into the Om. And then it draws in the light from the white mantra garland and absorbs into the Om on your tongue. So it's a really different experience of how to do it. It's much more powerful. And then the Om and the moon disc also melt into light, transforming into the Ah, the white Ah on your tongue. And that kind of just hovers there, and it melts into, sometimes, like Rinpoche says, into white, red and blue light, but other times it's into kind of pinkish light. And imagine it, you know, like when you have a sherbet sweetie on your tongue and your tongue's going pop, pop, pop. So imagine it absorbing into your tongue like that. and then your all of that beautiful pink light and nectar absorbs into your tongue. Your tongue becomes heavy and strong, difficult to move, and indestructible like a Vajra. So your speech becomes really strong, indestructible like a Vajra. Have strong faith that all the blessings and power of the speech of all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Arhats, yogis, and sages has entered your speech and made it perfect. Think, my speech has become perfect. And so Rinpoche then says that you can imagine that, you know, that pink nectar has absorbed into your tongue, and in the center of your tongue there is like a beautiful white Vajra inside your tongue. He says, like a Vajra inside a beautiful Nepalese purse. So this white Vajra made of light, that is your Vajra speech, literally right there inside your tongue, like the beautiful Nepalese purse. And then there's the speech dedication. May my tongue sense base have all the courage of the ones gone to bliss. By the magnificence and power of my words, may all sentient beings be subdued. May all the meanings of whatever words I say be accomplished. So that means that especially all the prayers and the sutras that we say become very powerful, that we're able to accomplish the wisdom contained in the textual Dharma. The power of our speech becomes perfect. Whatever we recite is multiplied 10 million times. The power of your speech is not taken away by eating the wrong foods. And even gossiping becomes the recitation of mantra. So I hope this inspires you to do this practice every day. It's a really wonderful practice. I can't recommend it enough. It revolutionized my whole experience of the Dharma. And it also healed my speech because after one of the, coming back, I can't remember, but anyway, I got one of those flus, like the Spanish flu, not the Spanish flu, the SARS virus, swine flu, I think it was, several years ago, and I lost my voice completely, which was a disaster for leading classes or pujas or anything like that. And for a whole year, all the sound files, they're ruined, you know, because I just completely croaky, really horrible sounding voice. Took such effort for anything to come in out of my mouth. And by the time I'd get halfway through a sentence, I would have lost my puff. I'd be breathless all the time. And then this Rinpoche's speech blessing practice came out, and I started doing it, and it healed my voice. It completely healed it, you know, within just a few weeks. It was quite extraordinary. Now you can't shut me up. So that's the speech blessing. Don't leave home without it. Then the next things. So are there any questions before we go on about this speech blessing? Yes, Francesca.
Do we do this before we do anything else in the morning? Is it the very first thing we do?
You can do the glance meditation first and then the speech blessing, or you can do the speech blessing first and then your meditations. It's kind of up to you how you want to do it. But definitely do it in the morning or before you embark on anything, at least to communicate with others. But it's great to do it before you do your practices. So Rinpoche wants us to do this, this prescription for life before we do any of our other practices, before we do our commitments, regardless of whatever commitments that we have. It's really important preliminary. Mary Camille?
Thank you, Miffy. Those slides were fabulous. I could never really visualize or understand. I never really just understood what I was doing. And those slides, did you make those slides?
Yeah.
They're fabulous.
Oh,
they're fabulous.
I wish I could make them all stand up and sing for you.
It makes sense, especially when you showed the slide, like standing up, how it goes to the back. Like
Isn't that incredible? Yeah, so we can really feel it like that. And the main thing is to feel them as actually they're the subtle the body of a Buddha. And when we're reciting, it is a way of actually physically drawing the form of the Buddha into our body in the form of vibrations, the vibrations of the sound. So it's a very integrated practice. Okay, so now the rest of it, the rest of our daily practice, the first thing is, well, is there anyone here who doesn't have to wear clothes? Basically, we have to wear clothes, don't we? So this is a number one thing that we've got to take onto the path to enlightenment, because otherwise wearing clothes just becomes a cause for more samsara. Either we feel bad because we don't have the clothes that we like, or we wear really nice clothes and other people are jealous of us, or we, create more attachment in our mind. All of these things can be a complete disaster. So how do we get dressed? Our parents taught us how to get dressed when we were little. Now we have to learn how to get dressed all over again, how to get dressed up like a bodhisattva. So not getting dressed up like a boss, getting dressed up like a bodhisattva. How do we do it? So this comes also from Rinpoche's just everyday Dharma, transforming ordinary things that we do every day, hitchhiking it into making it a Dharma practice. And it's so beneficial because we already do it. So there's very minimal effort that we need. We just need to tweak it and it becomes part of the journey towards enlightenment. It will speed that journey up. So for instance, if you wear earrings, so when you put your earrings on, Rinpoche says our ears are made for hearing problems. And when we put our earrings on, may we be adorned with the perfection of patience. So all of the pictures of the deities, the bodhisattvas, when you see them, they have the beautiful jewelry on. And so the jewelry represents the 6 perfections. It shows this Buddha is adorned with the 6 perfections, is beautified by the practice of the 6 perfections. So every time you put earrings on, you think, may I be beautified by my perfection of patience. If you don't wear earrings, maybe even when you put your glasses on and they go over your ears, that's what you can think every time you put it on. Of course, if you put on spectacles, then it's like, may I have the wisdom eye, the David's eye, the 2 truths, ultimate and relative truth, not separate. If you wear a wristwatch, every time you put your watch on, may I and all sentient beings achieve the timeless state, Buddhahood, complete enlightenment. And then you add on, and may I be the one to lead them there. So we've got to add on the Mahayana part, our personal responsibility. And who doesn't need more time? If there's anyone here who's not time poor, you're already blessed. But if you're time poor, if you're always running out of time, this is a great one to remember. If you wear a necklace or a necktie, that represents generosity and the 3 types of generosity. And it's also represented by the 3, in the Shakyamuni Buddha form, the 3 lines of the Buddha's neck. So those, the 3 types of generosity of things, of material goods, of resources, the generosity of providing safety, of saving lives, of protection, and the generosity of giving the Dharma, or even just in a colloquial terms of giving education. So every time you put on a necklace or a necktie, you think, may I achieve the perfection of generosity, and may I be able to practice generosity perfectly and bring all the resources and everything necessary for sentient beings. If you put makeup on, may I be beautified by morality, because, of course, what makes anyone look beautiful is it's the result of having practiced morality or ethics in the past. So when you beautify your face, you think, may I be beautified by my morality. So then it can become a really nice offering, instead of a competitive thing, or instead of something that you're worried about. when you put on your belt, it's like pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps. You know, you belt up, you're contained and supported by the 3 higher trainings. What are those 3 higher trainings? Ethics, concentration, and wisdom. So that's when you put your belt on. And shoes. If you wear shoes, every time you put your shoes on, may I step into the footsteps of the Buddhas, or of whatever your hero is. May I walk in the footsteps of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. May I, as I walk, be leading all sentient beings to enlightenment. So you get the idea. It can be quite fun getting dressed. That's, I mean, the minimum that we can do. And if you're like me and have a very, very small formal meditation practice, then this is a way that you can incorporate all of the Dharma into daily life without actually having to change anything externally. At the very least, have some speed metaphors. So this is the shortcut, folks. And who doesn't like a shortcut? So number 1, have I got my keys? Have I got my kindness? So you get into your car or you have your house keys. As you're looking for your house keys, go, oh, I'm looking for my kindness too. And don't start that car until you've generated your bodhicitta motivation, your kindness in your heart. Then you turn on the car with your key and you turn on your kindness and off you go. Or I don't drive, so my one is can't start the day without coffee, can't start without compassion. And so what I've managed to do is I do my speech blessing, I have my cup of coffee, and around about the time that I'm absorbing all the letters into my tongue like sherbet, you know, pop, 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 is when the caffeine is beginning to flow through my body. So I get this actual physical sensation of compassion flowing through my body and warming me up. It's really wonderful. So if you can actually combine a physical experience with what's going on mentally, it becomes a shortcut for practice, so that every time I have a coffee, I think about compassion. And every time I'm meditating on compassion, I feel it physically. It works both ways. And where's my mobile? Where's my mindfulness? So in the USA, I think you call them cell phones. It doesn't quite work for you guys, but for Australians, we call them mobiles. And so we're always checking, oh, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Isn't it? Don't leave, we can't be anywhere without it, without holding fast to our phone. So at the same time, we've got to check, where's my mindfulness? Where's my presence of mind? What am I remembering? Mindfulness being remembering, bodhicitta. So I get quite embarrassed by how vigilant I am with looking after my phone. Then it's like, well, okay, I've got to be as vigilant with looking after not all of the apps on my phone, but looking after all my vows. So you get the idea. There's probably a whole lot of other speed metaphors that you can incorporate into your own life. You just need a couple, and they really become dynamite, so that you never fall off the wagon. You never fall off your practice. Even if you don't get to do all the formal practice that you want, there's still this continuity there, and that's the most important thing. The other thing that we do, is there anyone here who doesn't eat or drink? So we all have to eat or drink. It's part of life maintenance, isn't it? And again, this is another thing that we can transform into a daily practice for life. And in fact, if you take refuge, if you formally become a Buddhist, then part of the refuge commitments is to offer our food. So how we can do it, imagine the white Om, the red R, the blue Hum made of light, absorbing one by one into whatever the food or the drink is. And this transforms it into an ocean of transcendental nectar, and then we offer to the gurus on behalf of all sentient beings. So even if you don't say that prayer, one of the lamas said, even if you forget to offer your food, you put the mouthful in and you're swallowed, there's still the time between the food going down from the mouth to the stomach that you have a chance to Om Ahum, Om Ahum, Om Ahum and offer. It's never too late. So you can either offer to a Buddha at your heart or to all the merit field in front. And so you offer on behalf of everybody who has contributed specifically for that food or drink, you know, directly and indirectly, and then you extend it out to all sentient beings. But it gives you this profound sense of being looked after by all sentient beings, because there's all the farmers that organize the crops. There's, you know, the cows that gave their milk and the bees that brought the honey, all the beings that gave their lives, all the laborers, many who have exploited, toiled hard for our benefit. Not just that, but all the beings throughout the ages, everybody who developed agriculture throughout the millennia, we're the beneficiary of that. All the shopkeepers, to the person who put the kettle on for the cup of tea, you know, so you're there, you're enjoying this kind of miracle of a cup of tea. You're transforming it into an ocean of transcendental nectar, and you're offering to our holy gurus, the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, in nature our own root guru, on behalf of everybody. And then you think, you know, just as I enjoy this, may all sentient beings enjoy the Dharma, enjoy the nourishment, the rest of nirvana, of liberation, enjoy enlightenment. So there are many offering prayers that you can do, but the minimum one, Guru is Buddha, Guru is Dharma, Guru is Sangha. Also, Guru is the creator of all happiness. To all gurus, I make this offering. So that's a prayer that we'll never get sick of or be over. So that's the one why it's kind of hitchhiked to the offering the food. So we're familiar with that in puja, but actually there are many ways that we can offer our food. And I've found that in the West, it's mostly to do with like just mindfulness practice, mindfulness eating, which, you know, in my mind is dead, dull, dreary, because if we could just have a pill and be done with it and not have to spend any time eating, I'd be really happy. Let alone having to shop and cook for everything. Oh, like, forget about it. You know, just give me the instant thing. But there are ways that we can make this essential activity a really strong path to enlightenment. And some of these may shock you. So we've got the lower scope way of eating is mostly to sustain our life. Middle scope incorporates, you know, mindfulness practices, ethics, concentration, wisdom. Higher scope is all about practicing the perfection of generosity. And there is the tantric perspective, the divine objects, the divine enjoyments in the nature of bliss and emptiness. So let's kind of go through this a little bit slowly. So we've got, just to put it into some Western context, we're all pretty much familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this one actually has some nice parallels with a Buddhist practice. So this, you know, the first thing that we all need is the physiological support of food. We need health and food and sleep. Otherwise, we can't support this precious human life. So this one, it sustains life. It keeps us alive so that we can use our time for good. And, you know, from a Buddhist perspective, so that we can continue to study the Dharma to actually become liberated from samsara. And that's this second one, safety. So why are we eating? We're eating for the ultimate safety, nirvana, not for a samsaric purpose to create more attachment and worry, but so that we can actually complete all the practices and become free, achieve liberation. The Mahayana approach is like belonging. You know, we all do belong. We are a group of sentient beings, of living beings. Everybody is important as each other. Everybody matters. So this is the bodhicitta attitude that we bring to it. I'm eating for the benefit of everybody. It's not just my life. My life is for everybody. And then esteem, self-esteem, well, from a tantric point of view, that is the divine pride of emanating already as a Buddha, as an enlightened being, and acting and speaking as if you were already enlightened. So this esteem is the ultimate self-respect of recognizing we are a potential Buddha, so let's get to it. And then the top one, self-actualization. Well, that's path of no more learning, Buddhahood, right there. So there you have it. All 5. So, you know, mostly we try and eat with mindfulness. Oh yeah, Maslow forgot something in our hierarchy of needs for the modern world, the internet. But anyway. So we eat with kind of mindfulness to sustain the life force, but actually the Mahayana way of eating is by recognizing that when we are putting food in our body is not us. In fact, our body is only about 1/8 us. The rest of our body isn't even us. It's made up of billions of little microbes, of little organisms that are keeping us alive. All the little organisms in our gut that mean that we can digest and actually take the nutrients of the food. All of the little mites on our skin that clean our skin so we don't suffocate. Like, we are actually a condominium of living beings. We're not us. Actually, what makes up a human is this tiny little percentage down here. So we're walking condominiums of billions of living beings. We're a complete collective. So every time we eat, we offer to them. We're practicing generosity on this extraordinary scale. And we kind of make the dedication, may they be in our first circle of disciples when we attain enlightenment. We are being this bridge to all of those beings directly. So this is the part where most people get grossed out and go, whoa, what? You mean I'm not me? You know, it's just scientific and really quite wonderful, because right there is the kindness of sentient beings. That's how come we're alive. How extraordinary. And then, of course, the tantric perspective is it's not even an ordinary body, but it's our light body, our enlightened body, speech, mind. So we generate ourselves as a deity if you have the initiation, or if not, then you just think of your potential enlightened body, speech, and mind. And then you eat as a deity, you enjoy as a deity, you eat with the pure view, you offer to Guru deity, you yourself are the deity. All of the food are the enjoyments, the elaborations on emptiness, all of the manifestations made of light, of bliss and emptiness. So then it becomes a really extraordinary practice. So Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, through this Mahayana practice, which is based on the Hinayana and adorned with the Vajrayana, your life becomes most beneficial, not only for yourself, but for all sentient beings. So that's kind of at least the way to start your day: speech, blessing, getting dressed, and how to have breakfast. So now questions, comments. Alexis, you can ask your question now too if you want.
Thank you. One of my questions happened to have to do with if you have certain commitments that you're doing, how do you combine them? Is there a formula, or what do you suggest?
Yes, you can combine them, and so you can do them in various lots. So if you have various Tara practices, you put all the Tara practices and mantras together. So for instance, if I do Tara Guru Yoga, green Chittamani Tara, and I say the Tara mantra, green Tara mantra, and then for the white Tara mantra, then green Tara dissolves into light, absorbing back into the Dharmakaya, and then manifests as white Tara. And then I say those, and then dissolves back, and then I do the rest of the Tara practice. So Khedra Rinpoche said, when I was trying to get my head around that, he said, same girl, different dress. So really, that's what the deities are. It's a very nice way to think about it. So you can group those ones together. When you're doing 6-session Guru Yoga, you can put in the Vajrasattva practice. If you have various sadhanas that you do that you can kind of group together like that, all the sadhanas start off with refuge and bodhicitta and have dedication. So you don't have to do them each time. You can just do refuge and bodhicitta in the beginning, then do the essential elements, the actual practice of the sadhanas, and then dedicate at the end. So it can become quite streamlined. Generally, you do Tara practices at night, wisdom practices in the morning, but I mean, in 6-session Guru Yoga, you can do 3 in the morning, 3 at night, or you can do 6 times throughout the day, however you like. So it's really going to be quite an individual thing, how you put them together. And then there are the short versions and the long versions. So right at the end, I have a little slide that kind of sums this up. But also, His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, whatever our commitments are, it's really important, and I think he gave it as a commitment and one of the initiations, that we spend at least 2 minutes every day and meditating very strongly on emptiness. So he actually gave that as a commitment rather than this many mantras or la la la, but the actual really focusing your mind and becoming familiar again and again and again. 2 minutes minimum every day for both of those. So I kind of just start with the bare bones of everything. What's the minimum I can do? Because, I'm really quite lazy and I get distracted. So I have Rinpoche's daily practice, his prescription. That's whatever odds and bits and pieces throughout the day. And then at night, I do my commitments before I go to sleep. That's the last thing I do before I go to sleep. And so the commitments, of course, are to recite the commitments. So to actually say them, whether you say them with feeling or not, don't get too upset about that. The main thing is to keep the commitment. So I have to admit, back in the day when I was a raging drunk, I would be belting out my commitments, all rolling around the floor, la, 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 la. But I did them, and I did them because my friend, who was also a raging drunk, said, no matter what, I never forget my 6-session Guru Yoga. So even if I'm blind drunk and rolling on the floor, I can recite it off the top of my head. So I thought, oh, okay, that's the minimum. So then luckily I kept up with the 6-session Guru Yoga and stopped drinking. So then you have the momentum of a habit, and then you can bring some quality to it, and the quality will go up and down. So I'm not sure if that's as specific as you wanted to get. Does it help, Alexis?
It does. I wasn't sure if I was having to do the visualization for each, like if I do Green Tara and then I do Medicine Buddha, if I had to do the visualization for each.
Yeah, so
when I do visualization, I'm talking about like the white clearing through your body and the red through your speech.
Yeah, whatever the commitment is, you have to do it for each.
Oh,
so
okay.
Someone asked Geshe Tashi sharing this. So they already had one Guru Yoga practice where they had the blessings of the white Om, red R, and the blue Hum.
Mhm.
And then Geshe-la gave us the Chittamani Tara initiation, and in that was the Tara Guru Yoga, which is the blessing of white Om, red R, and blue Hum. And someone asked, I already do that in this other practice. Do I have to do it again?
Okay. Okay.
And Rinpoche was, he was really upset with the question. Is like, why did you even take this initiation if you don't want to do it?
Mhm.
Like, it's not a spiritual materialism. You take the initiation. It's like a permission to practice.
Mhm.
So he said, no, you have to, because it's to do with that deity. It's the blessing from that deity and that teacher and that lineage. So yes, you do the visualization, because that's actually what the commitment is. But the preliminaries, refuge and bodhicitta, and the dedications, that's in common with everything.
Okay. And the only other question I had, which has always stumped me, is when you do the visualization of the 7-limb prayer and you're presenting clouds of every type of offering, I always get tripped up on that when we do the mandala offering, because then we're doing that. How is that different, or how should I be?
Oh, yes.
looking at
So
them?
the mandala is just one of the offerings, but so in the 7-limb prayer, it's actual and imagined. So it's all categories of offerings. So it's offerings that you have actually in your home, the offerings of all the lights in your city, all the flowers in your state in America, all the chandeliers in the world, all of Elizabeth Taylor's diamonds. You offer everything that actually exists, whether you own it or not. And then you have the unexcelled offerings, the offerings of virtue, the manifestations of virtue. You have your mandala offerings, and you can have all of your tantric offerings. So it's the whole gamut of offerings that you make. And a mandala offering is one tiny part of that. So in the 7-limb prayer, you can extend it out and do mandala offerings if you want, or you can just imagine whole universes of offerings in the nature of light, so meaning in the nature of emptiness, completely pure and perfect, and offer that.
So when you do the mandala offering afterwards, are you visualizing something different when you also are visualizing? You know, let me just
Yeah,
read.
so then the mandala offering is just the mandala offering, that practice,
Okay.
because it's kind of like a recipe, and it's got all the different things to offer that are like become the substantial causes to have their results. So the mandala offering is like this, fuel in the tank of everything that we need in order to have success on the Dharma path.
Okay.
So it's a more kind of specialized offering. And also the mandala offering is something that everybody can do. You don't need a tantric initiation to do it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okie dokie.
Missy?
So
I-
yeah, oh yes, Barbara.
The things that you're talking about, these commitments, and this is foreign to me. So is this all tantric? Is that all tantra
Maybe.
practices?
So mostly in this Tibetan Buddhist tradition, it is tantric practices. If you have an initiation, then generally you have a commitment. I mean, the initiation means you're introduced to the practice, and so then you're supposed to do the practice. It's like take the medicine, and that's what the commitments are. Of course, you try and do more than the commitments, but the commitment is to kind of keep the momentum going day by day by day and never kind of fall off the wagon. But there are, if you take refuge as a Buddhist, you have refuge commitments as well. So part of it is to offer your food, to do 3 prostrations every day, to respect the Sangha. So, to take refuge every day. So at least to say the refuge prayer every day. So then that's a commitment for just taking refuge. So some people have quite extensive commitments, others are quite small. It all depends, but there is a way of making it a holistic kind of practice throughout your day, and it will change through time as well, because if, for instance, you're quite ill, you're going to hospital, you're going to have an operation, you're going to be, you know, all groggy after an anesthetic, you may not be able to do your practices. So then a way to keep that commitment is you recite them onto your phone, so that when you're too groggy to read, you just play yourself back to yourself doing the practices. So there's always around this, but it's a way of bridging what we want to be doing and that goal of enlightenment, and bring it into our day-to-day life, just starting at the level that you're at.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
So then at the end of the day, so in terms of a daily practice, looking back on the day, and often how we rate our day, if you think, oh, someone says, oh, how was your day? And you either say, oh, yeah, it was great, meaning you had a fun time, or, oh, it was horrible because you're challenged. So think about that for a moment, that when we're rating our day, often it's about how we felt, whether it was pleasant or unpleasant, whether it was a challenge, whether it was overwhelming. But actually, if we're going to rate our day, how was our day, we can't look at it in this worldly Dharma kind of way. We've got to look at it more from a Dharma perspective. So rating your day, it might have been a horrible day experientially, but how would you rate your kindness in that? Or how would you rate your perseverance? Or how successful were you at non-retaliation? So you may actually have had an awful day, but you managed to not retaliate, to not punch the person in the nose, to not say the snarky thing back. So actually that's a 5-star day. So you might be exhausted and you might go, oh, you know, I'm over it. But at the same time, you've got to rate the effort that you put in and your good-heartedness. And that's the most important way to rate it, not just whether it was a pleasant day or not. So this is doing a complete U-turn in our approach, and it's really worth doing this. The other thing to do at the end of the day, for 2 things, regret and rejoice. So it's like keeping a ledger. So in the olden days, they used to, you know, think, well, these are all the good things, and you make a little pile of the white stones, and here's all the things where I stuffed up, and you make a pile of the black stones, and you see, is it even Stevens? Are there more white stones there, or is the black pile just enormous, you know? So to just be aware each day what the level is like, whether you keep a ledger, whether you do journaling, whether you have little stones like this or jewels, and congratulate yourself on the positive. Actually appreciate it as if you were somebody else, acknowledging your efforts. It's really important that you rejoice in your effort, regardless of the outcome. The fact that you didn't retaliate, for instance, and then the things that you did manage to accomplish, bring your attention to it and feel really good about it, because that way we get more fuel and energy. If we rush over that bit, we're going to run out of steam. We're going to burn out really easily. So it's something that I find we never spend enough time actually feeling really happy about our efforts. And then the things that went wrong, instead of getting guilty, recognize, oh yeah, I stuffed up, recognize it as a mistake, and then decide one thing that you can do better. So this is like the 1% rule. If each day we just did 1% better than the day before, it might seem like nothing, but cumulative, it's amazing. So instead of feeling bad and getting all judgmental about everything, switch it straight over to the positive and go, yep, that was a complete stuff up. Now what's one thing that I can do so that next time it won't be as bad, or next time it won't happen? And really bring your awareness to that. So that's the minimum, the regret and rejoice. very, very, very simple, whether you're Buddhist or not, whether you're religious or not, it's an essential element. But you can, as a Buddhist, use the 4 opponent powers, which is the power of repudiation. It's like talk to the hand. You push away the negativities, you don't let them in. So the 4 opponent powers is a way of breaking every single negative habit pattern that we have and of purifying whatever mistakes or stuff ups or negativities that we have. This is how we purify. And Thupten Norbuling, you have wonderful express meditation, Vajrasattva express meditation every night that incorporates these 4 opponent powers. So it's a meditation practice as well as this process that we go through. And that is a really wonderful combination. So these 4 opponents, you know, we do some naturally, but if we miss one out, the purification isn't complete. It's not as powerful, and we end up falling back into our bad habits, repeating the negative behavior again. And often that way we can get quite demoralized, think, oh, you know, I stuffed up again. But it's because we've often forgotten one of these things, and quite a few of them we do naturally. But there's a couple that we always leave out. I'll go into them in a moment, but think of this practice, the 4 opponent powers, it's like diffusing a bomb. So whatever negativity we've created, we will experience the results if we don't do something about it. So this is like cutting those wires so the bomb doesn't go off. Because of course, everything that we do, if we just leave it alone, it multiplies, it magnifies, just like a tiny little bomb has a huge effect. So the 4 opponent powers is to do each night, combined with Vajrasattva, is a way of making sure that things don't escalate. So the 4 opponents, you know, the regret primarily, we regret the suffering that's going to come. You know, all the actions that we do, they're going to have results. The results definitely for me and maybe for others. And we don't want those results. So just genuine remorse, kind of understanding what the effects are and going, no, I wish I hadn't have done that. And that is completely different from guilt. Guilt recognizes we've done something terrible, and then it adds something in that goes, therefore you are terrible. So we're not going there. We're just going, I've done something terrible. But no, you are a potential Buddha. You have the potential for enlightenment. You are not terrible. It's the actions, it's the delusions that are terrible. So genuine remorse, it's a really good thing. You can have the courage for it. Reliance, who do we rely on? Sentient beings to develop all of our qualities like tolerance and patience and compassion and forgiveness, and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and the Dharma and the Sangha to help us. So this is our reliance, and we re-establish that, because the only reason we act badly is because we've fallen off the wagon. We've become alienated from our own goodness. So refuge is a way of reinstating that, reconnecting. So this practice, you know, it can be done by Christians, by the non-religious, because the process is the same, not just Buddhists. Then the remedy. So the remedy is the Vajrasattva meditation, or it can be reading a Dharma book, reciting a sutra. It can be a making amends type of activity. It can be anything generally. It doesn't have to be the remedy to the thing. What it is, it's a remedy that redresses the balance. So if the negativity was with your speech, then try and do something positive with your speech. It might be saying sorry to the person, but it might also be reciting a sutra or reciting your prayers out loud. So counterbalancing, however bad the negativity was, the remedy has to be as strong. And the 4th one, restraint. So that's the one we usually forget. because normally what we do is we're really extreme and we go, oh, I'm never going to do it again. It's like me when I was an alco. Oh, I'm never going to drink again. You know, that's what you say on the hangover, isn't it? And then how long does that last for? Do you forget about how bad the hangover was? And then the next hangover, you go, oh, I'm never going to drink again. So it doesn't work. You can't say that. You have to go, I'm not going to have a drink for 3 days. What's the date? What's the time? And then if tomorrow someone invites you out to the pub, you go, oh, no, can't go today. So right there, restraint, it happens. And it only happens because we've made a specific commitment to the amount of time. And that's the one I think most of us forget to put in. And we've got to be quite honest about it and pick a time that we can realistically keep to so that we actually have a success. We're not just constantly failing all the time. So you pick a realistic amount of time and then you extend it by just a tiny little bit. So you're just doing a little bit of a stretch. That's the go-to formula. So the 4 opponent powers, incredibly important, a way of finishing the day so that you stop all of the mistakes from escalating and you get your energy back again. Fran, did you have a question? No? Anyone have a question? No? Okay. So putting it all together, in the morning, every calendar day, whenever you get up in the morning, do Rinpoche's method to transform a suffering life into happiness, including enlightenment. That's it. That's our prescription. And we don't just want to collect our prescriptions, we want to take them every day. So the speech blessing and the Lamrim recipe that's in there. You have whatever your daily commitments are, the ones you do in the morning, and then getting dressed up, having breakfast. Then you can leave the house. Do your speed metaphors. Also, like, you know, when you're having a shower, you can do Vajrasattva then because of the white light flowing through you. It's like the beautiful shower washing through you. So if you've got no time to do Vajrasattva practice, have your shower at night and do Vajrasattva practice in the shower. Then you've got a perfect excuse for staying in the shower too long. Then during the day, offer your food whenever you eat. Sutra readings, recitations, actually saying them out loud, and the 2 minutes on emptiness and bodhicitta. So with the sutra readings, you don't have to read the whole thing in one go. You can just read a little bit, just 4 lines every day, and it blesses the environment. If you have trouble with your neighbors, it's an incredible way to create harmony in your local environment. It blesses all the beings, seen and unseen. So, you know, the Sutra of Golden Light or the Sangata Sutra or even the Heart Sutra. Something like that, and it blesses your speech. And if you recite it out loud, then you get used to using your speech in this really powerful way. And then the evening, you do your regret and rejoice, the 4 opponent powers, and whatever last commitments that you have. So, any last questions or comments about this kind of putting it all together? Yeah, Francesca.
You did say last week you're going to talk about how to listen to Rinpoche or the gurus properly. Did you?
Oh, no, that was last week. That was the Sangha one. We already did that. Maybe you missed a week. Yep, but
yeah,
that's okay.
I just missed that.
It's on the Thupten Norberling YouTube channel. It's right there. So
Okay. No, I think, because I've been just listening to the transmission of the Sutra of Golden Light, and it's been really great. And I can follow Lama Zopa on it. And I was trying to watch him on a YouTube video this morning and couldn't hear a word he was saying, and then somebody wrote fairly unkindly in the comment and sort of said, this old man shouldn't be sat up there to talk that long, and he can't understand a word he says, and they don't give him a drink of water. And somebody written, well, look, he has had a stroke, but he's been looked after. And anyway, and another person wrote and sort of said, well, I'd turn on the closed captions, and you can actually, I never knew that was there. And because I struggle to hear what he says.
Actually, I'm really glad you brought that up, Fran, because having those closed captions, or having in the retreat when Venerable Joan transliterates, like writes what Rinpoche is saying, and it's there on the whiteboard above Rinpoche, it really is extraordinary, because it's like a time machine, because we just hear one word at a time. But with that, you can look at the last paragraph Rinpoche said, you can go back in time and reread it to put things into context, which is an amazing way to listen to teachings. But also that is actually the Sambhogakaya aspect of Rinpoche right there. It's letters of light, continuously transmitting the Dharma. When Rinpoche gave the transmission for the Sutra of Golden Light, so it was, I think this is the one that's on YouTube, it was in Bendigo, and everybody was getting the flu. So Rinpoche also manifested getting the flu. So on the surface, it looked like his voice was, a bit raspy and changing. But actually, that's just our ordinary view, which it's so hard to get away from our ordinary view. But actually, the pure view, when Rinpoche was reciting that, each chapter, he had a different voice. He had a different accent. And some of them are all sing-song, and others are like heavy metal, like death metal, rah, rah, rah. And it's like, whoa, is this the same person? Yeah. Unbelievable. So that was there on purpose. It's like the Vajra voice. All these different voices came through, different accents. Some of it was even like the harmonic, death metal singing, and others really, really extraordinarily beautiful and gentle. So that's part of the transmission. So with the sutras, it's great to listen to it first as a transmission, and you think that actually the words are like that you're hearing are words of light, all those letters coming from the Guru's mouth across space, like that whole line of letters made of light, and entering into your mouth and coming to rest at your heart. So you get the transmission of the sutra by hearing it first. And then you go to recite it yourself. And so then you have the blessings from the Guru of that transmission. Yeah, so I highly recommend going on. That was such an amazing adventure. It took kind of a couple of weeks for Rinpoche to get through all of the verses, and we weren't even sure whether it was going to happen or not, but extremely exciting. So we'd any other questions before we dedicate? Anything at all? No? Okie dokie. So our dedication, I just wanted to put our last slide up, because when you dedicate, it's really nice to, at the conclusion of things, many times at the end of puja, it's like there is this auspicious rainfall of flowers falling out of space. And what this represents is like many times in the sutras, when a bodhisattva will do something really spectacular, the devas will rain down, flowers will rain down from the sky just spontaneously. And what this is a manifestation of all of your virtues appearing as flowers, just filling all the space, just petals falling down around you. So at the end of any meritorious activity, to do our dedication, and then to think the manifestation of all that auspiciousness, the room around you, just this rainfall of flowers filling space, all of your manifestation of all your virtues of the past, of the present, and of the future. So with that rainfall of flowers, let's dedicate our merits to the highest possible aims, dedicating just as our gurus do, as Manjushri and Samantabhadra, that all of our efforts and good-heartedness go all the way to enlightenment, our own enlightenment, and may we bring everybody with us, and may we never stop until we get there. You know, that may this momentum propel us all the way to enlightenment for all. And may we never give up our good-heartedness and our altruism, our bodhicitta motivation. And remembering dependent arising and emptiness, that ourselves and the practice and the Guru Buddha are all one taste in emptiness, are all dependent arisings. And that's why all of this is possible. That's why enlightenment is possible. So let's dedicate in that way. And over here in Australia, we're on one of our holy Buddhist days, Labab Duchen, which is, you know, where all the merit is multiplied. And I think in the USA, you're just going into your holy day. So have a really, really happy, auspicious day, and make the most of it. And I thank you so much for having me along, and I hope to stay in touch.
Thank you so much, Mithi. I feel on behalf of everybody, if I can speak for everybody, that you have enriched our daily practice with all of these. You've made it much more tasty.
I hope so. I really hope so. So